I flew 800 miles for a long-awaited vacation with my partner. The caregiver they assigned us tried to control our relationship. She told us not to kiss. She gaslit us. And she even hid my medication before she left. This is a true story. Time to catch the mic. Oh, and today, you're definitely going to want to stick around for this story. No Reddit, no internet drama. I lived this one. So I'll set the scene for you. I have a long-distance partner. We'll call her Parker. She said if I ever do a story about her, that's the name she wants to go by because we're Leverage fans. No, I'm not as good at computers as Hardison is.
Age of the geek, baby. We run the world.
You keep telling yourself that.
But I think he's pretty cool. So let me get more specific about the whole long-distance partner thing. The only reason we're not legally married at this point is because we're both disabled and we need a bunch of extra help, and you don't qualify for programs if you need the government to help you and you're married. It's a broken system. We're working on it. If you want to help, write your congressman. I live in one state because they offer better benefits for people with disabilities. Parker lives in another. So we had been apart for months at this point, and we were beyond excited to finally spend some time together in person. It took us about a year to plan, but we had everything set up. I booked a flight. We were going to stay at a nice hotel that we always used to stay at all the time when we lived in the same place. And we arranged a company to help us with personal care because we both have disabilities. We used to use them all the time. You know, I've done all those stories where people claim to know the owner when they try to pull the Karen type stuff. This one is actually true because I do know the owner pretty well. Now, about this hotel. We'd stayed there at least 10 times over the years. We stayed there so much, we were on a first-name basis with the original management when the place first opened. We stayed there so often, we could call ahead and request the exact room number that we wanted. We were basically a part of the hotel's DNA. I got there on a Friday evening. I was absolutely bouncing off the walls like a 5-year-old because I was finally going to get to see Parker. We had been texting all morning, and then immediately when I got off the plane, we were texting again. I was so excited. We were finally going to get to spend some quality time together, and physical affection was definitely on the menu.
You know what I'm in the mood for?
What?
Pretzels.
When I got there a little later than what I wanted, and Parker was waiting in the lobby with the personal care assistant. The lady who was going to help us, Dolores, she seemed a bit standoffish, but she mentioned that she was a widow, so I figured maybe it just happened. So, people go through things all the time. No big deal. It's not like everybody has to be friends. As long as she could help us get done what we needed to do, it was going to be fine. But then the weirdness started. First, when they finally took us back to our suite, we had to wait a long time for them to clean it. When we got in there, Dolores thought the floor wasn't clean enough and that it needed to be cleaned some more. Okay, I appreciate the advocacy, but then she starts taking pictures and she says she's gonna report it to her company. Like they can do anything about it or care. Parker and I just kinda looked at each other like, this is weird, whatever, but it's okay.
This is weird, right?
Then she started unpacking our belongings to help us get set up for the week, which is totally normal, except she made this weird too. I had bought presents for Parker, but I had them gift wrapped when I ordered them from Amazon. That way, if someone had to go through my luggage, the surprises wouldn't be spoiled. Smart, right? This woman was frustrated she didn't know what was in the packages. You would have thought I brought something for her and wouldn't tell her what it was. She just would not let it go. She kept asking what's in the packages. She kept pestering like she was a 5-year-old on Christmas. Parker and I again just exchanged looks with each other, saying this is exactly why I had them wrapped, and we had a little quiet laugh together. But here's the thing, Dolores saw those packages only once, yet every single time she came back to our suite for a morning and evening shift, she was there for 3 hours each, she would bring up that she didn't know what was in them. Every single time. After that night, I even took the packages and put them in a drawer underneath the television in the living room area. She never saw them again, but she still kept obsessing over them. So yeah, having Amazon wrap your gifts? 10 out of 10 would recommend. Best decision I ever made. Then when she helped us get ready for bed, right before she left for the night, she looked at us and told us not to kiss each other.
Serious? Is she serious?
I figured she had to be joking. Let me give you some context about that. We've worked with a whole lot of different personal care assistants over the years. Different companies, different people. And most of them always thought it was sweet that we liked being around each other so much and couldn't care less what we were doing as long as they got paid and got to leave. In fact, most of them would comment how sweet they thought it was that we were so affectionate with each other. And it was never even overboard. So at first, we laughed about it. We were thinking, as adults, talking to another adult, it has to be a joke. So I took it as a joke. Boy, was I wrong. The next morning, Saturday, Dolores came back and things got even worse fast. She said the shower was broken, but what it really was is she couldn't figure out how to make it work. Finally, she tried the handle and pulled it off instantly. Water sprayed everywhere all over her, head to toe. The way the hose was positioned, it went straight for her. She got a bath in her scrubs. She screamed, "Oh my Lord!" Her clothes were soaked. She was mad and embarrassed, and she was totally convinced her outfit was ruined. It wasn't. So our solution to the shower situation were these soapy scrubs that you can buy on Amazon. They're already built in with soap and you can use them. You literally just have to add water. Dolores freaked out about this too, claiming she didn't know how they worked, even though we told her you only need to add water. That got her to calm down for a few minutes, and at least we got to clean up. And then the interrogation started. Dolores started questioning, and I really want you to sit with this. She started asking us whether our parents knew if we were on vacation together. At the time, we were both in our 30s, we knew each other for 20 years, and we were best friends for years before we ever decided to date. But she was treating us like teenagers who snuck off to have a naughty weekend and didn't want our parents to find out. But we both asserted that yes, our parents happened to know exactly where we are for this trip. In fact, they helped us pack. Did that satisfy her? No. She kept asking the same questions like she was going to keep asking until we gave her the answer she wanted. She even got to the point where she kept saying the trip shouldn't have happened at all and I shouldn't have come all the way down there. That was really hard not to start yelling and going off on her for that. But she kept criticizing different things. At one point, when she was helping Parker shower in the morning, Dolores told her she wasn't cleaning herself properly. I wasn't in the room, obviously, but Parker told me about it afterward, and I'm sure that was pretty mortifying. That was the first real confirmation that something was seriously wrong here, and it wasn't just an overbearing caregiver that we were just gonna have to deal with. Then Saturday night, when she came back, it got even worse. Dolores was helping Parker transfer into bed, and she transferred a certain way. It's the only way her body can do it, and she explains this clearly to anyone who will listen. But Dolores wouldn't listen. She said because she worked at a rehab clinic, she knew a better way to do it. She tries to do it her own way because apparently working in a rehab clinic makes you an expert in someone's body that you've never met. She hurt her shoulder doing it wrong, and then had the nerve to blame Parker, saying Parker was too heavy and she hurt herself, literally telling it was Parker's fault. So Parker's devastated, and Saturday night, that's ruined. No movies, no TV, no quality time. Dolores got what she wanted that night because there was no kissing. just an upset Parker being blamed for somebody else's incompetence. At that point, Parker was done. She said, "We're calling the agency and getting her out of here." She was the opposite of a fairy godmother. She was awful. I did call the agency, but this is where I screwed up. I'm telling them that we need to get somebody else because time was not going to fix this woman's behavior. They said they didn't have anyone to replace her, but in hindsight, I should have pushed because I think they only meant for the weekend. I thought it meant that we were going to be stuck with her for the whole trip, but turns out it was probably just for that night. After that call, things got worse. Dolores tries to pull me aside and claim that Parker is whiny and demanding and that I do too much for her and she should be doing more for herself and being independent. And she knows because she works at a rehab facility and could get her into some physical therapy for free. Yeah, right, Dolores. That Sunday, I did try to talk to Dolores to find out what the issue she had with us was. I was calm and I was professional, but she wasn't direct. She was just dismissive. Whenever I get diplomatic, my best friend has a nickname for me. He calls me Bryant Gumbel, after the guy who used to host the Today Show. Don't ask me why. It's something that stuck. He even has people actually thinking that that's my real name. He finds it hilarious, but I just accept it. So I pulled out my inner Gumbel, but it didn't fix anything. The entire day of Sunday was more of the same. More complaints from Dolores. More gift obsession. More relationship interrogation than advice that we didn't ask for. This is the only vacation we've ever had where the person we hired actually cared about what we were doing each day. And it wasn't to be helpful. She was actively trying to keep us apart. Physically, emotionally, any way she could. And on top of all of that, Dolores started telling us that the hotel was tired of us. You know what we actually asked the hotel for? A reasonable accommodation of lowering the bed so it was easier to transfer in and out. A simple standard thing. But here's the part that really gets me. It was Dolores' company who actually called to advocate on behalf of us. So while Dolores is sitting there telling us the hotel is fed up with us, her boss was on the phone trying to help us out. Parker and I just looked at each other like we did any other time this crazy stuff was going on. And then we did what reasonable adults would do. We went down to the front desk to ask the front desk directly if anyone had complained about anything we had done, to find out if there was any issue with our stay. The answer was no. 0 complaints. Nothing. Zilch. Nada. The hotel had no problem with us. We went back to our room, but we didn't say anything to Dolores because we didn't want another argument. We just filed it away for later. By Monday morning, we were sick of being treated like children. We tried to sit Dolores down and talk to her directly, telling her we didn't think it was appropriate for her to question our choices. We were adults and we've known each other for 20 years. Instead of listening, Dolores just started an argument. We tried again to be diplomatic and professional, but she put her hand up saying she wasn't going to discuss it anymore, like we were children. She put her hand up and walked away with a smug, satisfied look on her face. But it still got worse. That Monday evening, we had reservations at Capitol Grill. We made it 6 months in advance because we knew we were going to miss our actual anniversary, so we turned it into a pseudo anniversary. We couldn't be together on the actual day, so we made that day extra special. They took pictures for us, they gave us a special card. The trip was finally being like it was supposed to be. The bill was a pretty penny. We weren't hiding it, so when Dolores asked, we told her roughly how much we spent and how much we loved it. She immediately launched into unsolicited advice about saving money. Here's something else that'll be funny for you. I didn't find this out till later, but apparently whenever I was out of the room, Dolores would be telling Parker that she needed to find someone local and could do more nice things for her. I was someone who came from somewhere to take her somewhere nice and do something special with her, and she was ruining it. Now she was gonna lecture us about financial responsibility?
Girl, bye.
Man, did she contradict herself. A little later on, we were just sitting in the bedroom having a normal conversation about what we were going to do for the day. And Dolores literally kicked me out of the bedroom that I was paying for.
What?
We were literally just talking. I had gotten dressed first because it takes less time to help me. So Parker was probably still in her pajamas or maybe working on getting changed. It wasn't like she was inviting me back to bed or anything. We were just talking like a normal couple about what we were gonna do for the day. I think I remember telling her how cute I thought she was and how excited I was just to be in the same room as her after all this time. We were talking about where we were gonna go for lunch and whether we were going to do some shopping. Her birthday had been 2 months before, and I promised to take her out to buy extra presents that I couldn't have shipped in time. Nothing scandalous, nothing inappropriate, nothing dirty. Just a conversation you could have in mixed company.
What a funny, dirty little line.
This is the kind of couple we are for all intents and purposes. We're basically a married couple talking about our day. But according to Dolores, I was ogling Parker. I was looking at her face the whole time. We were having a conversation, but Dolores treated me like I was being predatory. Obviously, I think Parker's very attractive, but I just don't look at her like an object. She's my best friend. She's been with me for 20 years. So after Dolores lost her mind and kicked me out of the suite that I was paying for, I could hear her calling Parker unsavory names and talking to her about having self-respect and how she needed to be dating someone local. Let's just say she compared her to a spicy dancer. I went and sat in the kitchen and I stewed. I knew that if I said what I wanted to say, we'd end up with no help for the rest of the trip. People like Dolores always find a way to flip the story to make themselves the victim. I was certain if I reacted in any way, she'd claim I was being hostile and aggressive. So I didn't react. I just sat there. I thought I was protecting Parker by staying calm. So I did my best to breathe and calm down. I played the word game that I played every morning to get my brain going. I sat there going through everything in my head, trying to remember every detail. Because I knew at this point a phone call was going to have to be made, and I wanted to have the receipts. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I spent time visualizing what I could do if I had superpowers. You know, for stress relief. 20 minutes. I sat there for 20 minutes while Dolores kept Parker trapped in that bedroom. Inside that room, Dolores was on a roll. I could hear her tell Parker that she knew I was angry with her and that she didn't care. She told Parker that she should find someone local, someone more convenient, and that she could have a better romantic situation than this. She also told her to never let a man look at her the way that I was. This woman, she's a widow. I'm sure she had conversations with her own husband in various states of undress without it being about, you know, and she was treating us like it was. She was constantly acting like she was walking in on something inappropriate. She was acting like she was chaperoning teenagers who'd never been in a relationship before. Parker said nothing during the stupid lecture because she knew engaging would only make it worse. But non-verbally, I know she was screaming on the inside. She wanted Dolores gone. When the door finally opened, Dolores walked out without saying a word to me. Here's what finally broke it all down. Parker likes to bring up her family to get to know people who are helping us, so she can connect with them and they can get to know her as a person. That's how she does stuff. Well, apparently Dolores didn't like this either. So when Parker comes out of the bathroom, she's dressed and ready to go, but she whispers through gritted teeth, "Come on, let's go. Shh. Be quiet. I have something to tell you, but not here." She was seething and looked like she wanted to punch something. Normally when she makes a comment about punching something, because I have a black belt, I always make a suggestion about keeping your wrist straight, but something said this was not a joke. So we went through the complex because the place we stayed at also had the mall. I feel like we drove forever. She wanted to get far enough away to tell me the whole story so Dolores couldn't say anything. Let's just say she said some really messed up things about Parker's family and then doubled down when Parker said it wasn't acceptable and shouldn't be said. From that moment, we made the call to the agency. I said, okay, let's make the call. Decided to wait until Dolores was gone because we didn't want to give her the chance to spin the story and lie in real time. I had the phone number because, like I said, I know the owner, but Parker did most of the talking. And I think it was the right call because as bad as Dolores was to me, she was 1,000 times worse to Parker. And everything she said, of course, she waited until I was out of the room so there wasn't a witness. It's very funny. I never mentioned to Dolores that I knew her boss. I used to case manage in the area and a lot of my clients were their clients. We go way back. I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't want to be one of those people who pull rank. I've done enough Reddit story videos on this YouTube channel to know how that plays out.
I know how this goes.
Here we go.
So Parker laid out everything to their office. How upset she was, how she never wanted to see Dolores again. I filled in on the details that I had, everything that happened in order as specific as I could. The owner was great. They apologized immediately and said Dolores would be removed and they would send new people that evening. Dolores never came back and we never saw her again. I'm sure the agency had a conversation with her, but there was never another interaction on our end. It was over. I don't know if she still works for them. They wouldn't tell me. I guess the universe or God wanted to put a bow on this whole thing because the hotel itself weighed in. The maintenance supervisor caught us going out on a date once, and he stopped us and he said, "I sure am glad you all got a new nurse." He told us why. Dolores had actually called the hotel to complain that the shower in our suite was broken. Remember I told you about the shower where she yanked on the handle and soaked herself? Maintenance did come by to check it, and they walked her through how to use it. They confirmed that there was absolutely nothing wrong with it. The shower worked fine. It always worked fine. So Dolores had complained to us that the hotel was tired of us, while simultaneously complaining to maintenance that the shower was broken when it wasn't. And maintenance told us unprompted that they were glad she was gone. That's gotta be something, right? When even a hotel is done with somebody? Or so we thought. Dolores had one more parting gift. That evening when the new staff arrived, I was getting ready for bed and I realized I was running low on meds, which made no sense. I had packed more than enough. I knew exactly how much I had brought, and I started second guessing myself, going through everything trying to figure out if I'd miscounted. I was stressed enough about that I called my doctor in a panic to try to get more. And then the new caregiver found my extra meds. A full pill case buried in a drawer underneath a pile of my clothes. Dolores had put it there. We don't know when, we don't know why, but sometime during those 3 days, she had taken a complete pill case of my medication and buried it under my clothes in a drawer where I never would have found it on my own. Parker and I just looked at each other again and started laughing. Not because it was funny, it was genuinely scary, but because at that point, it was just confirmation. We hadn't overreacted, we hadn't been difficult, we had been completely right about this woman from the beginning. And here it was, the proof, courtesy of a pill case in a drawer. She was crazier than we thought. I don't know what she was thinking. Maybe she thought if I was incapacitated, she could finally find out what was in those presents. That evening, we had new support staff. But here's where the happy ending starts, because one of the replacements has actually become really good friends with Parker since. They see each other all the time, and the last time I was there visiting, Parker specifically requested the same lady to help us out. So not only did we get to remove someone who appointed herself our abstinence counselor, physical therapist, relationship therapist, and financial advisor, Parker gained a wonderful friend in the process. Sometimes standing up for yourself, even when you're trying to be diplomatic about it, leads to something better than you could have planned yourself. And at a minimum, the absolute minimum, we had a great dinner at Capitol Grill out of it. And Dolores never, ever got to find out what those packages were. So that's the story of Dolores, the Vacation Saboteur. This woman tried to control two adults in their 30s who'd known each other for 20 years, who then complained about wrapped presents every single day for 4 days without ever finding out what was inside of them. This woman thought inserting herself into every corner of our relationship was somehow in her job description. But it wasn't. The rest of the trip was a great one, especially once we got rid of Dolores. 3 great things happened. We had an awesome dinner at Capitol Grill. Nobody had to tell us that we couldn't kiss anymore. And my favorite part, Dolores will never, ever, ever know what was in those packages. I really hope Dolores isn't somewhere bothering someone right now. If you've ever had someone like Dolores walk into your life, someone who took it upon themselves to manage you without being invited, let me know in the comments and tell me about it. I want to hear it. If this is your first time finding my channel, welcome. I tell funny stories that I find on the internet, as well as funny stories from my own life. The goal of this channel is to be a place for people to relax, get a laugh, and chill out after a hard day. So I hope this story accomplished that mission. If you like this vibe and the way we do stories here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, don't forget to click the like button, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. I'm Sean with Storytime with Sean S. We will catch you on the next one. Now YouTube is showing you some other great stories that I have on this channel that will help make your day or unwind after a long one. See you at the next video.